Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here on this Friday morning, getting ready for a big outdoor weekend. It does look like we're having some rain. There's a 10% chance today and about a 90% chance tomorrow is what the National Weather Service is telling us. But anyway, we'll press on. Weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center, going up Baldwin Highway 77. We're calling for a high today of 72 and a low of 58. Water temperature dropped down to 63, so that's been interesting. We always talk about that. So, you know, it's going to be high today in the 70s, high tomorrow in the 70s. So it's not going to be cold like it was the early part of the week, so be aware of that. Our river readings brought to us by Watson's Landing Marina and Dry Storage. Don't forget about those folks. They offer us a lot as outdoorsmen and boaters. Looking at the Apalachicola at Bluntstown, 21.6 and falling, but that 21 foot is still really high, still up in the color chart. Now we're looking at a Choctawhatchee at Caryville. It is falling down to 13 foot and still falling, but it's falling pretty fast, but it's going to be rushing on out of there. And just be aware that, you know, one thing, I hadn't talked about this, I did the last time we had a flood. When you get all this flooded water, the dangerous thing about boating, and I saw this the other day just out in the ditches and all, there are all kind of limbs and logs and all kinds of barrels and all, you know, being swept out into the river channel in the Choctawhatchee and Apalachicola, even to a smaller degree on Holmes Creek and those other areas. So be aware. You don't see a lot of people going out boating on you know, the flooded weather, and that's why. So be aware of that. Let's take a look at our fish and game time brought to us by Mark Cowart of Counts Realty. We're looking at 10:36 to 12:36 this morning, right in the middle of the day. That looks good tonight. 11:03 to 1:03. I was saying last night about floundering. We just didn't get a lot of flounder pictures this year. For some reason, I believe it was, you know, could be attributed to the red tide. But I think overall, compared to just on my volume of pictures from year after year after year, I wish I'd have sort of done a count. But I just, you know, but this year was down. I can say that for a fact. I know it was down this year with the amount, and I have the same people, you know, feeding us and all. But that I can say that it was down this year. Now, marine forecast east. Southeast at about 5 to 10. All right, we'll take our break and be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's get started. I got one picture to show you, but it's got a good story behind it, an interesting story too. So let's take a look at this. Big old buck here, and look at that. You know, that's a nice rack. And I want you to see it's on the card there. But I want you to, I put the email up here. I want you to read the email with me. Okay, and this is from Doug Lurie. He said, Winston, I harvested this buck Monday at my farm in southeast Houston County. I let him go last year when he was a 180 to 200 pound deer. He had a lesion on his side that looked like he had been hit by an auto, and now he only weighed 155 pounds, but I think it was recently after his rack had fully formed. Best of you this year, and always enjoy your show. But now I'm on YouTube until fishing season starts. Doug Lurie. That's interesting. What happened? You know, when they get hit, they do get injured and they lose their appetite and all. And that's probably what happened. It's usually the other way around. If you let them go, they're going to gain 20 or 30 pounds. But I thought that's interesting. I wanted to mention this story too. During the holidays, I was down in the Cape San Blas area. Went over to St. Joe to Piggly Wiggly. I want to stop by to just speak to George Duran. So we stand up there by the front door to Piggly Wiggly. This guy walks in the door. I just want to show you about the feedback I'll get. This guy walks in and recognizes me, come over. Hey, Coach, he told me his name and said, I'm from up north around, I believe, Wisconsin. He said, I come down here a lot. I watch your show. He said, I really enjoy it, and George and I just enjoyed talking to him. Really friendly guy. And he said, you know what I enjoy the most on your show? I said, no, tell me, because I love to get the feedback. He said, I really enjoy it when you have those young people on there. It just reaffirmed my faith in the young people and all. And I got to thinking about that during the holidays, and I really enjoy having them on. But as I reflected back on the year, I get more comments, more positive comments on having young people on the show, or you know, having pictures of them or interviewing them and all, than I do with anything I do. It could be the videos on the red snapper trips, or the red fishing trip, or catching speckled trout, or quail hunting, or people like those, but I get more positive comments on having young people on the show. So I appreciate that feedback, and it was interesting. George was sitting over there. He was grinning, and I was grinning too, because it was just good stuff. I just wanted to share that with you. And so also, speaking of young people, I asked them every morning we do a story stick and I encourage them to tell stories of outdoor activities, which is good. And what they do, and of course, this past Monday with a 2-week vacation, they had all kind of good stories. In fact, amazing stories. Some of them I had two different boys actually went to California during the holidays. One boy. Zach Bennett drove a budget truck, drove his sister to California. 18-year-old kid driving a budget 3 days, ran through that blizzard and all, and that was amazing. Zach, I know his sister appreciated it. He got to fly back home, but driving a budget truck to California. Another boy rode a Greyhound to California. So it was fascinating what some of these kids do. A lot of them went outdoors though. But I asked them to do resolutions. I wanted to share something on resolutions. One of the things. And I have 5 classes, about 40 kids, about 200 seniors, so I have a pulse, and I understand what they talk about and all, and I really enjoy them. But one of the things on the resolutions they were telling me, probably one they talked about the most, was they really wanted this last semester of school year, they really wanted to have a strong, good bond, get along better with the moms, and just get along. They really wanted to appreciate their family more. And I thought I would pass that on to you. And I mentioned that to a dad a day before yesterday. He said, well, that would be good if they'd put down their phone. It would do a lot better. He said the other day, I text my son to take out the garbage because I knew he'd be on the phone. And that shows we're living in a flat screen society. I mean, the phones, the iPads, the televisions, and it's amazing. You cannot go out to a restaurant now and not see people. See couples, and I saw the other day, they're just like this, and they're out to eat, and they're like this, and it's amazing. We don't allow that around our place as far as when we're eating and stuff like that. But anyway, I didn't want to get off on a tangent. I just want to share that with you real quick. Judy Tyson sent me a message the other day. I had on this flannel shirt, and she sent me a message. Really like that red plaid flannel shirt, and wanted to know if it was new. Judy, it was not new. It was one of my old flannel shirts. I've just saved it long enough, and Gail tries to get me to throw away the stuff. Honey, I said, if I save it long enough, it'll come back in style. Now, flannel, the kids are wearing flannel now. I had a kid, when I wore it to school, Tuesday, I believe I wore it, and she said, Coach, I really like your flannel shirt. I said, what you call it? Your flannel shirt. So I guess that's what young people call them now. They don't call them flannel. So anyway, thank you, Judy Tyson, for that compliment. I don't usually get compliments on what I wear, so I appreciate that. Justin Leake's show, Sunday at 1 o'clock. It started last week. Every Sunday at 1 o'clock, tune in to the Outdoor Channel. And watch old Justin on the show. He does a good job with it. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I got a lot of names. Let's go ahead and start putting them in the pod. It's going to take a minute, but we got to do it. It's important. I want to make sure you hear your name. If you sent me your name, I don't want to leave it out. Mary Cruz, Westfield. Versi Cruz, Westfield. Okay, Susan Hahn, Southport. James Bo Jones, the Sand Hills up at Brim Pond Road. Debbie Cometz, Ponce de Leon. We've got them all over. Robert Cometz, Ponce de Leon. Janelle Pepper. Ronnie Pepper out there in Callaway, Margie Gilmore, David Gilmore, okay, Nancy Flores, Tom Platt, Panama City, Tom Martin, Panama City Beach, Jelena Barnes, Bobby Barnes. I'm assuming, don't write where you're from, I'm assuming Panama City. Mark Jones, DeFuniak, Renita White, DeFuniak Springs, Michael White, DeFuniak Springs, John Ray, Lynn Haven, Nita Ivy, Sandy Creek, Joe Ivy, Sandy Creek, Debbie Harris, Panama City, Nat Harris, Panama City Beach, Billy Brown, Panama City, Lori Jernigan, Gracefield, Joy Jernigan, Gracefield, Mary Stevens, Youngstown, Larry Stevens, Youngstown, Ben Sherrill, Southport, Michael Sherrill, Southport, Mary Ann Jeter, Mary Ann Jar, Lynn Haven, okay, Paul Jar, Lynn Haven, Sammy Sowell, West Bay, the Sowell family, 3 generations of fishermen, some of the original fishermen up there in the West Bay area. Debbie Lumley and Jimmy Lumley. All right, good to see you, good to hear y'all's name. Frida Mallett, glad to hear. A lot of these folks are just, every year I see y'all's names, I appreciate it. Donald Malik, White City, they come down every year, stay down in White City. Then go back up north in the summertime. Hiram Tyson, Bonifay, Judy Tyson, Bonifay. Jaron Aguan, Southport. Davian Aguan, Southport. Jaluvian Regadio, the Regadio family. Joe, Ernie, neighbors up there in Southport. John Olander, St. George Island. Steve Sapps, Port St. Joe. Judy Sapps, Port St. Joe. Russ Nichols, Lynn Haven. Tracy Neighbors. And Rayford Neighbors, Panama City. And Victor Hathcote. Okay, that's enough to get started. I know some of y'all sent some in yesterday, and I just haven't had time to do it. That's, we're going to have to move along. I'll add you next show, okay? Just be patient with us. All right, now, real quick, I was going over, I have two things to go over. I wanted to show y'all this. This is cool. This, I don't know, do y'all know what this is? Look at it a minute, too. Well, in a few seconds, and see if you can guess what it is. A lot of folks don't know what they are. This is what's called a glass minnow trap. Okay, this is actually made by Orvis. Orvis was the first company to make the glass minnow traps. And what happens, this hole right here, minnows, you see, you drop it down in the water. You drop it down in the water and have it connected. And minnows would swim through here and they would get trapped. And then when you get some minnows in here, you'd bring it up and you have your bait. This was very, very popular. It goes back to the 1870s and 80s when Orvis started making this. And the Orvis company up in Vermont, and as you know, they're what a class company that is. They do a lot of fly stuff and all. But a friend of mine gave this to me as a gift. I'm going to put it on the shelves back here. I wanted to show it to you because they're so good. I wrote a couple of notes. During the Depression, Orvis company was down to 2 workers during the Depression, but World War II, they kicked back off and got strong again. And they still make these minnow traps. Lake Martin up in Alabama, you can find some Lake Martin minnow traps. And it's still, the idea is still good to, catch your bait and all, but, I don't know how, it says Orvis on, you can't see it, but they made a lot of them. They're very collectible now, and they're not super expensive. You can go online and find them anywhere $100 to $200. Some nice minnow traps, makes a nice thing. But it was a gift from a friend of mine, and I appreciate it, and it's cool. It's just part of our American fishing heritage right there, okay? Now I also want to talk about the floods, the effect of floods, and we've been talking about it for like a week and a half now since we've had the flood. And by the way, thank you all for those compliments on that video. I showed it to my students, that a 12, 13-minute video, and they really enjoyed it. They'd never seen anything like that. They did not realize the water comes up that high and 6 or 7 miles down the road. And I was telling them that, the Choctahatchee River, the Holmes Creek area, they're all experiencing the same thing. The good things and the bad things on a flood. I've got kinfolks and friends up and down the river, and on both river systems, really I got some good feedback. And we were talked several times during the week and all, and one of my nephew up there in Bluntstown was telling about one of his ball players that actually shot an 8-point buck that had come up out of the river and went in their backyard. They were close to the river road over there, and the buck just come there. So, I made a list of the good things and bad things. The good things now, what a flood will do on all these river systems, like I just mentioned, it will increase the food supply for the fish. Okay, you're looking at all kind of new stuff coming in, fresh stuff coming in. So they're going to get a lot of food. Now, you're talking about flooding all over the place, so they're going to get a lot of food. So the fish are going to get a lot of food. Another thing, stop and think about this, it's going to give them some new structure with the trees and all rolling and all. They're going to have new structure to hide in outside the channels and all. So these are all good things. Also, it dilutes the bacteria and the pollution and the runoff. With that much water out there, it can dilute it and keep it spread out. Okay, now the bad things. Here are a couple of bad things. First of all, and we all know this, it traps them. It traps the fish in an area they've never been in before. And I don't know if you saw in the video where they were trying to jump back across the road. They knew they didn't belong in that area. And it traps them, and they become very vulnerable to predators. And man being one of them, and also all kind of things, whatever feeds on fish, you got them in that pond starts shrinking, and then all of a sudden they're sitting there. So they become vulnerable, and we lose some that way, and then some are just swept out into the bays and can't deal with the salt water. Another thing, it introduces parasites, a bad thing. Another thing, the animals themselves get trapped. Let's look at the deer. The deer and all, they're getting pushed out. Like that one got shot the other afternoon. You get pushed out of your area. Now, some animals and all love it. Stop thinking about a gator. I mean, a gator, they're in great shape. I mean, they're just going to sit there and whatever comes by, they're going to just grab it. They're going to have it's going to be a buffet to them. So it's a huge advantage of some of the game. I wrote down what about the squirrels? You know, the squirrels, of course, can climb the tree and they're safe and all, but what about their food supply? You're looking at acorns, and that's going to be for 2 weeks, that's going to be underwater. They're going to be like having to fast for 2 weeks. Now, they can survive, especially if they got something put away, but we're sort of at the end of the winter, so they've been eating on it for a little while. But think about squirrels. Also, the raccoons and all, they're going to be misplaced. They can swim a little while, but you got to stop and think about how vast the flood is, especially on the lower end. Now, the upper end, what happens, it just spreads out, it goes downriver, like in Choctahatchee. You know, it's full, the lower end is just full of water. Also, the turkey's going to be in good shape. They can fly out of there and they can roost, but they're going, their food supply. See, everything now is going to be concentrated. Wherever these little ridges are, that's going to be the food. So what's going to happen, though, is going to make those birds and animals all vulnerable. So be aware of that. And I just wanted to show you and talk about the big thing on the good things and bad things about what happens on a flood. Okay? So we got that out of the way, and right now everything's on the way down. I know you're going to see in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a lot of ditch fishing, as we call it, people fishing in the ditches and all. I don't do a lot of that. I may film some of it, and it's fun, nothing wrong with it. I stopped thinking about all the septic tanks have been run over and washed out and all the bacteria in the water. I know you fry them and all that, but I was just a little hesitant at this time on floods and all to eat a lot of those fish. But anyway, that being said, let's get ready to do our first draw into the 2016 year. We've already got a good collection, and keep them coming in. And this is going to be our first winner this year of a $20 gift certificate. And we're going to put it out. The winner is going to be somebody I just put in there. It's going to be from Port St. Joe, Judy Salps. Okay, Judy Salps, Port St. Joe. And now the winner of the Big Red Snapper is going to be, get it out there, get one, from Panama City Beach, Adam Taylor. Okay, put the red snapper on this one real quick and $20 on this one. Congratulations. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back with our famous Friday fishing forecast. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the famous Friday fishing forecast. Now, one thing I mentioned on tides earlier, you saw the tides are going to be really strong 2-foot tides if you can get out and go fishing. And interesting enough, I was afraid I wasn't going to have a lot of information. I got a lot of information on here. If I don't get it finished now, it'll be online. So, but let's get started. I'm going to start with Mexico Beach. One of my viewers from Mexico Beach called and said I left them out the other day. So it was inadvertent. So we're going to start with y'all first, okay? What I have on Mexico Beach is right outside of Mexico Beach on the buoy line. The buoys are holding really good catches of triggerfish and large sheephead. If you can get out there on a good day, the buoy line is not that far out, but it's in good shape. So that buoy line of Mexico Beach, and while we're here, let's go and look at the St. Joe Bay. They brought in, the reports down there, they brought in some nice keeper trout this past week after the rain ended, and they could get out there. St. Joe Bay had some nice keeper trout. Also on the Cape, some whiting bite is there. The whiting bite is really strong. Talk to some folks, and the thing about whiting, if you're local, if you're a tourist, you can catch whiting, and you can use. And what they're using now, the folks I've talked to, I didn't get to go because it was too rough the early part of that last week when I planned on going. It's too rough and too dirty, too muddy. But they're using fresh shrimp and also frozen shrimp. It really didn't seem to make a difference. So that's good news there. Also on the Highland View Bridge, I'm going to move in here to the Highland View Bridge. I got some really saw some really good reports up under the bridge. Really good fishing for drum. I've got some nice drum catches there. Also, the trout and redfish were under the bridge this past week. So really good fishing. The thing about that, that's a good place to fish because of the weather. You can get out of the weather and get out of the wind and all. So don't forget that area, one of the hot spots in the Panhandle, really. Let's move over to Choctahatchee Bay. I got some reports from Choctahatchee Bay before I get into Panama City. Choctahatchee Bay, I'll just read them to you. The bay's real muddy, obviously, from all the rain we've got. The bay's real muddy, all the flooding. There's been a decent bite on flounder. Also, the sheephead bite has gone down. It's slowed down, interestingly enough. The black drum bite, one guy caught a 43-pounder, and they estimated that 43-pounder to be around 35 years old. Another guy caught a 50-pounder, but he caught it and released it, which is, I'd recommend releasing those big drum especially, okay? Now let's come into Panama City. In Panama City, what's going on? The bull reds around the pass. I know it sounds like a broken record, but that's just one of the bull reds around the pass, just one of our staples around here. It's just really, really interesting and really good catches right there. Trout bite now, the speckled trout bite, you've seen the picture, I've showed them this week. People catch them in the afternoons. They got some buddies up there in Southport catch them off their dock afternoon, but the best bite has been early in the morning up in the bayous. They're up in there and the water temperature dropped down to 63. The near shore bite on bonita, if you can get out on good days, there's a lot of bonita out there according to people getting out. The offshore bites just been too rough. Let's mention this about freshwater. The flood, we mentioned this last segment, water's all over the place, but if you can get out there in some of those sloughs, just push your boat out there, you can catch some fish, I promise you. It's starting to fall, it's falling really strong. Pier report, bluefish and some bull reds. Carabel, the rain, again, that bay is muddy down there. All of our bay systems are muddy, and we can understand that. I do want to mention locals on fishing for freshwater. Everybody's using worm now. All the locals going to use worms because they understand that naturally that's what's going on. That flood water is getting in there. Those worms are coming up. One of the fascinating things I saw was going down Dock Whitfield Road where the ant beds, all those ants have moved up there, and right beside the road about every 20 yards was just an ant bed this tall. And you know, they knew the water was coming. They just built a big old mound. So nature, the animals and insects and all, they sense it and they know what's going on. I'm going to about run out of time. About most of it's covered. Bluefish, like I said, pompano have moved out, and some whiting are being caught in the surf also along in this Panama City area. Okay, got to wrap it up. Thank y'all. I want you to have a great weekend. Try to dodge the rain and get outdoors and do some stuff. Enjoy the outdoors. Do something good for your fellow man, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.